Welcome to Miss Lam's Math World. Today we are going to handle the trigonometric equations. Please turn to page 1.15. To start with, so let's have a very short revision of solving the trigonometric equation of degree 1 first. So whenever we want to solve trigonometric equations, there are type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is the trigonometric equations with the value here, which are not having any special angle as the answer. So if you are not sure, you can just press shift cosine and check for the values. Okay, so for this one, we don't have any special angles. That means it lies in a quadrant, right? Then we check the beta. Shift cosine 1/2 is equal to 60 degrees. So this is beta. So for type 1, we will actually have two answers. Okay? So negative, that means we cross out the positive quadrants and you get S and T, two cases. So case 1, quadrant 2, you will have 180 degrees minus beta. 180 degrees minus 60 for a bit larger. So and then for quadrant 3, 180 degrees plus beta, right? Or 180 degrees plus 60. So answer, you will be 120 degrees or 240 degrees. So this is the example of type 1. So in case if you forget, I would suggest you to copy all this in your quadrant table. Quadrant 1, beta. Quadrant 2, 180 degrees minus beta. Now remember, beta must be positive by pressing shift cosine. So shift cosine, it means shift cosine, that means cosine inverse, and then press the positive number only. So it is called the reference angle. Assume it is in an acute triangle. So there's a 360 degrees minus beta, quadrant 4, type 1. And then for type 2, it means for the value of the sine, cosine, or tangent, so you got a special angle. So when you take shift sine, your calculator will give you a negative 90 degrees. But it is not the value we want to get, as our question are usually lies in between 0 and then 360. Alright, so negative 90 is actually means 270 degrees. And of course you have to check whether all these are the possible answer, or you may use the plot graph method. So remember, we always get two methods to handle. So method 1 is you try to use a calculator and test for each value. It is sine, then press sine 0 degrees is 0, not correct. So sine 90 degrees is equals to 1, which is also not correct, like this. So you try to test the value one by one. And then if it is a take, then you copy the answer. So method 2 is plot the graph of the sine function, and then we want to find the y coordinate, which is negative 1. So you only get 270 degrees as the answer. Okay, so for type 1 trigonometric equations, you will surely have two answers. Okay, if it is from 0 to 360 degrees, you will have two different answers. Okay, so two answers, two roots, or you say this is because you have always two quadrants in type 1. But for type 2, we might not have only two answers. It might be maybe just one answer, maybe two answers, maybe even three answers, if it is from 0 to 330 degrees. So you need to be careful of the type 1 and type 2 first. So let us put the revision here, and then if you want to have a look on it, you may use it again, right? Finally, we can comes back to trigonometric equations with the quadratic equations. Alright, so there are actually 3 types of the question, but the concepts are actually very similar. So the first one is whenever we want to solve quadratic equation, make sure that right hand side is equal to 0. Then left hand side we try to factorize. And then please check the quadrant for type 1, or you use your own way to check the answer if you got type 2 of the linear one. Right, so what are the difference for type 1, 2, 3? So for type 1, we only need to factorize. So you may put it here, just factorize for type 1. And then of course you have to put everything on the right. Because we don't have anything other than just taking the common factor on the left, right? Nothing special. Just 2 cosine x plus 5 sine x inside the bracket, and then we try to solve them one by one. Okay. Cosine x is equal to 0, or 2 cosine x plus 5 sine x equal to 0. And then so the first one, cosine x is equal to 0, so you can use the plot plane graph method, or you can use the testing value method. Okay, so this is 90, 180, 270. Okay, so answer x is equal to 90 degrees or 270 degrees. So after that, let's solve for the second part. So 5 sine x equal to negative 2 cosine x. So remember that sine over cosine equals to tangent. So we divide cosine x on both sides and also for negative, so for 5 also. So you got tangent x equals to negative 2 over 5. And then check the beta. The beta, we use this one. So shift tangent 2 over 5. That means the beta is 21.8014 degrees. So CAST, tangent is negative. That means we have quadrant 2 and quadrant 4. So quadrant 2, x is equals to 180 degrees minus 21.8014 degrees. Quadrant 4, 360 minus beta. So x is equal to 158 degrees or 338 degrees. So here it is. And let's move on to part B. So part B, we have cosine x equals to tangent x. So again, we need to handle for tangent for sine over cosine. And we don't like fractions, so we multiply cosine x to the left. We get cosine square x. And these two, they are different also. To handle, we have to change cosine x to 1 minus sine square x by using the identity. And then put everything on one side to form the format of quadratic equation. So this time we have to find the sine x maybe by quadratic formula, okay? Or you use the program number 1. Sine x is equal to 0.61803 or negative 1.618. This one is rejected. as it is out of range. It is less than -1. So we can find the beta also. So this time we have quadrant 1, right? So sine x cast, quadrant 1 and quadrant 2. So the beta is the same as quadrant 1. So we can press shift sign to get 38.17 degrees, or 180 for quadrant 2 minus 38.17 degrees. And then 38.2 degrees for the first answer. The other one, 180 minus answer, you get 142 degrees. Alright, so that means when we want to solve trigonometric equations, we just need to put everything on one side and with the 0 on the other part. And then we factorize as usual. Okay, factorize. So this one we also actually factorize, and then check whether it is on special angles or it lies in quadrants. Find the beta and then solve the equations. So let's move on to the next video clip for the rest of the examples. 12.22, 12.25, and very quickly for the past paper question.